Recording. Um, so everyone, my name is David Kanesvik. I'm a youth housing worker at the Oxford County Community Health Center. I'm just going to show you my program poster on screen so you know what I'm talking about. So this is a program that's fairly new to Oxford County. You might see these posters around town or in your school hallway, social work office, or guidance. So this is generally how to get a hold of us, what we do. I work with 16 and 17-year-olds, family, friends, and professional social services in Oxford County to help folks that are couch surfing, staying with a friend, staying on the street, running from home, stuff like that. We work with kids that are doing any of that stuff or what we call at risk of homelessness. So pretty open, really simple program in the sense that if you are experiencing issues at home and aren't sure what to do, we're another one of those services that can help. But we do work really with community, with a lot of community partners like CAS, Oxford County Human Services, which is OW, schools, just basically anyone. There's no wrong way to get to us. You can call yourself, someone can call for you, you can call for a friend. Just as long as you're asking for help, we're there to help. So there's my contact information. That cell phone number can be text or phone call. You can send me an email. Pretty easygoing to get started. So today is, so if you weren't part of the last session we did a couple months back, can people hear me okay, by the way? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the last session, this is really just about building a strong foundation to stay housed. 16 and 17 is a very energetic time. I remember it fondly. It's, we're trying to find out who we are, what we're about, separate from our parents and our family. Sometimes that happens in really positive ways. Sometimes it gets complicated. So what I like to talk about is the first session that we talked about was focused on thinking about families like a system. So like a functioning, working, breathing system of multiple pieces or parts that kind of work together to make a house run. And the challenge as an adolescent or late stage teenager is you start to become part of decisions in different ways. You have a bigger voice than you had when you were smaller. Well, hopefully you do. And like I said, sometimes that works and doesn't work with what our family wants and needs from us. So we don't always have control over our part in that system that is our family. And you can think of systems in a really smaller way where it's just like, who you're immediately living with. So for some people that might be your mom and dad and some siblings. For other people it might mean a mom and a stepdad. It might mean two moms, two dads. It might mean, grandparents. It might be a friend's parent. Families look a lot of different ways. So I'm going to flash some pictures up on the screen for people to kind of think about different ways to think about your family and how it functions. So I like working with visuals. I think visuals are a nice thing. So one way, if you thought about, your family as an ecosystem, like a garden. This is a complex idea of a garden here. Like this is obviously much more complex than you might have in your backyard, but the idea is simple. You've got your water system, you've got treatment, you've got secondary treatment and drain fields, and your plants are thriving off of the system that is running to help it grow. So like you could picture how different people, feel free to like stop or chat or like stop me if I'm moving too fast or not making a lot of sense, for example. Like I don't mind, just it's better if you stop me and say so. So I mean, this is one way to look at a system and how it runs. We can also look at, like a car engine. So, here's an engine with a bunch of parts, and if everything's working, the combustion happens, the pistons go up and down, and your car moves. It gets everything moving, and you can picture that as a way to think of your family. How does your family work? Another version that people might think of is we're back to plants again, because I think plants, interesting stuff. You can look at the root system as the part that the root system helps the tree and the shoot grow. So think about the root system as like the conditions in your home, things like income. Are both my parents working? Do we have different things happening in our home or outside of our home that are stopping the leaves from growing and bearing fruit? A final example, and this one you might see in like sociology or psychology or social work class, but for some reason I can't make this bigger, but this is something called an ecological model. Oh, sorry, I'm just watching the chat. Yeah, so there is a variety of reasons that people do run away. I tend to tie it back to relationships and how your system is running at home, and the conditions that are contributing to that. So with this visual here, you've got yourself and people that like closest to you that you see every day. So like immediate family and your closest friends or peers. Then you've got like things like extended family and the outer circle and secondary friends. And then you've got like school and the people that you might see at school, like principal, vice principal, teachers, all that stuff. And then community from there. So this is like Woodstock, Oxford County. You might like people at the library, police officers, your sports team, stuff like that. But yeah, I wanted to make sure to tie this back because today's talk. I'm going to go a bit faster because I know that you guys, um, you can't see my screen. What happened to that? Sorry about that. Can you? So this is what I was talking about with the circles. Sorry, individuals, people that you live with immediately, close friends, grandparents. This might be extended family that are and secondary friends and acquaintances. This circle would be like school, your sports team, the club that you go to once a week, if you go to theater, dance, stuff like that. And then like your community, which is like, police, library, the county, the city, stuff like that. So that's another way to look at, uh, your life as a system. And again, the way I bring this, the reason why I bring this up is because, part of being, I'm trying to watch the chat too. Okay. The reason why I tie it back to systems is because, if you live in a house with 4 people, like your parents and say like a brother or sister or someone who, anyone who lives with you, and you're all sort of active and you're living creatures, you're people, and each of you individually have things going on, and when you bring that together, you've got things that are going on together. So it's important to think about supports in that way. And that's what today is supposed to be about, is how do you sort of bring supports together when you need it. So a big reason that I run into with kids that are experiencing, young adults who are experiencing homelessness, or they're at risk, or going from house to house or couch to couch or relationship to relationship, is it's relationships. There's definitely a lot of other things that can be going on, things like mental health, things like maybe you have some learning challenges or some processing challenges, or maybe money is a significant issue for your family that puts a lot of stress. Maybe it can be a variety of things. You're being bullied at school. All sorts of things can contribute to how things are at home and what you bring in and out of the home. So I wish I could see the chat while I was One sec. How do I bring that up? Chat. There we go. So I mean, I'm bringing it up in that sense. So what I want to talk about for the rest of the time is the idea of supports and relationships as a way to have a strong foundation for home, wherever home is and whatever home looks like. So you might think of this, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Again, you can think of this in a variety of ways, but you know, it's part of our basic need to be connected to people. I got to share one more time so you can see this next one. I don't know if people are familiar with this, again, something you might see in like sociology, psychology, social work and such, is this idea of like basic needs. You know, this isn't, you know, not a new theory. It's back in 1943 that this came out. So, you know, that I often work from this and want people to look at, you know, think of this as a way of feeling like your needs are met. And, you know, if you can picture, we start from the bottom generally, and then as things at the bottom happen or are secure or part of our life, we're able to access the next one. So without basic things like air to breathe, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, you know, with those things we can open ourselves up to feelings like health, you know, how do we feel about home, accessing resources, thinking about a career, and from there we can sort of accept things like love and belonging through friends, family, and connection. And then from there we get, you know, the next level and the next. So this top thing here is basically means being the best you can be, but it's hard to be the best you can be if you don't have this stuff in place. As a youth who is reliant on other people, basically you rely on other people. Thinking back to the idea of systems, you rely on people for these things in order to be the best that you can be. Okay, so we're going to talk about supports for the next couple of minutes and how that all ties in. Okay, so I'm going to put this away for a minute, and I'm going to ask people, do you know who your supports are? Can you confidently say, I know who I could go to if I needed to? If I was really, really stuck, do I have a person? Do I have 3 people? And feel free to like unclick your mic and say so if you want. Do you feel like consider to be part of your support network? So we got close friends, we got my parents, siblings, my best friend. So we're looking a lot into this idea here. My best friends, friends in general, a lot of those people fit here that you've listed. Some of them might fit in this outer circle. Is there extended family that? That's a really good one too, pets. Now, pets pets are awesome because they release when we're petting our animals, we get a release of oxytocin, and it's a hormone that moms get with newborn babies when they first hold them, and when they care for them, they get this, they call it like the love bond. It's what makes you connect with someone, and pets do that. So I'm looking at this list. Yeah, we've got friends, we've got family, we got parents, siblings, best friends, we have pets, we have D&D family, pets, totally. We've got parents, grandparents, uncle, close friends. You're getting the picture. Are there people outside of that circle that you would even consider a support in like a secondary type of way? Thank you. We got therapist here. And it's okay. I see someone said I don't even know. No, this is really good. Good comments. Now, for the person saying I don't even know, that's actually that's okay. What we don't know, if we don't know, we can't do anything about it, right? And you know, again, as people that are living with our parents or with someone, yeah, I see police, teachers, excellent ideas, excellent ideas. I want to go back. You're welcome to the understanding comment. Absolutely. Principles are a big one. to the person that said that one. So your school principal. And sometimes that person might be a little intimidating and sometimes they're really approachable. I got to tell you that principals are some of my biggest allies in helping youth, very much so. Social workers, your guidance counselors, your teachers, your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, all of these people. Um, so yeah, keep the names private and to yourself because I think we could do, I think based on what people are giving, we could create our own support networks privately while I go through one on screen with you. But the idea is if we don't know who our supports are, or if it's something we haven't consciously thought about, when we get into a position where we're stuck or struggling, or things are kind of hitting the fan at home, um, we want to connect with those people. Those are the people that can help us. Those are the people that know us best and can help the issue as best they can. They can help us connect the dots. Uh, our principals, our teachers, our guidance counselors, our social workers, our therapists, our community workers, those professionals in our lives can help us connect the dots between family and professionals and really help strengthen your network, strengthen your supports, and really, really, really help. So I'm going to go back to that point that by and large, there are a ton of reasons why the kids I work with end up on the street or couch surfing or relationship hopping. But the biggest denominator, the common denominator is relationships with our family and friends have hit a point where they've been tapped out. The bridge is never, sometimes bridges are burned. Sometimes the roots get charred in our root system. Sometimes the well dries up and we don't have enough water to feed our support system. That's where, when kids get to me and they're homeless, that's what tends to be going on in addition to a bunch of other things. The problem is that their supports are burned out. They don't know what to do anymore. And then those supports aren't helping very well. They've run out of ideas or just aren't sure how to connect with you anymore. And we want to avoid that. I mean, it happens. And when people reach out, we're there to help. But if we can put our supports together in our head, we can sort of do this much, much earlier. And prevent that idea of supports burning out or getting to a point where we can't talk or help each other. So what I want to do is give you a few examples. Jenna and, facilitators in the group, you might want to just chime in terms of time, just to keep me on track if that's okay. Just give me like a sense for time. Pictures that I've shown you, and I'll do some examples real quick. Excuse me. And then I'm hoping that we can, so maybe put in the chat box, do you want to do option 1? We can do like a mock support map, just like with a fake person, or I can run through an example and you can sort of draw your own privately at your own desk or wherever you're sitting. And then you have one already that you've started. So I'm comfortable with each. It's always more impactful. I prefer you leave with a tool that you can use already, but that's just me. Which option would you prefer, 1 or 2? So 1 is a fake one and 2 is work on your own. So I'll draw a couple of examples and you can pick one, and it's basically it's a support map. So you can basically get down on paper who your people are. And then in times of crisis, or pre-crisis, you can rally your supports. Yeah. I would honestly think, so what I'll do is I'll just go through a couple of versions that you could consider, but really I encourage you to pick a visual that works for you. So I flash things up like a garden, a tree with a root system, an engine. We can do like this ecological model on my screen, or we can do something called a mind map. So I'll draw those for you. Yeah. Okay, so I'll leave this open, but I'll get up my trusty old paint program. So I'm gonna actually mute my video or stop my video so you don't see my hand, moving around on the screen, but you'll still hear my voice. How do I do that? There it is. All right, so this is just paint, so I'm gonna just use my pen, but so if we take the standard like circles, so one of my community partners, Children's Aid, if you ever work with them, they're going to use something called a networking model. So I'm not gonna speak for them because they have some people who, they're trained in this stuff and do it every day. I do too, but this is something that they do and it's really helpful. But yeah, it's something you can expect and it's really helpful. So what we tend to do is we draw 3 circles. Oh, I'm gonna have to close this again real quick because for some reason it stopped working. So they're gonna draw 3 circles, and what this is one way of looking at supports. If you draw these 3 circles on your page, in the center here, this is your closest people. Or sorry, you put me in the middle, or you. So the person that we're thinking of, this is like your closest. So these are the people that you can think of that have your back no matter what. So when you're at your worst, these people are there for you. They'll drop things to do stuff for you. So typically people will put in like, and you just write their names in there. So for a lot of people, it might be, mom, stepmom, dad, stepdad. You can have grandparents. For some people, it's like uncle, John, aunt. For some people, sorry about my writing. For some other people, it might be like your best friend. It might be like you get the idea, right? And then this next circle is like, who are the next people? So they're not quite in that circle. So you might have, maybe it's your aunt again, maybe it's your social worker, maybe it's your guidance counselor. Wow, my writing's terrible on screen, sorry. Might be a teacher, might be a friend, might be your coach, might be, like you get the picture, right? On the outside are people that you would consider toxic. There's actually one more circle, I'm sorry. So this circle is acquaintances. So put yourself in the center. These are your immediate, they'll do anything for me people, no matter what, no matter how horrible I am, no matter what mood I'm in, no matter what I've done, they're here. That's this circle. This circle is the next step where you're like, those people are going to help, but there's conditions on my relationship. So conditions like that, my aunt will help me. I'm going to use real examples, so this might not apply to you, but maybe auntie will only help me if I haven't been smoking today. Maybe my social worker works between 8:30 and 4:30 Monday to Friday, so I can only call on them during that time. Same thing with my therapist. Maybe my friend only wants me to call if I've called everyone else. Okay, so the first one is unconditional. That's this one. This circle is conditional. This is acquaintances. So these are people that you don't quite know them, but they're positive, and maybe they could be a good person to connect with. So that might be like one of your teachers that you don't know super well, but they've offered to help before. Maybe it's a friend that smiles at you, walking in the hallway at school, and I don't know them, but they're really nice, and maybe I want to get to know that person a bit more. It's like outside of that, so outside the circles are toxic people. So these are people that don't help me at all. And that might be an old friend. It might be a parent that was abusive. It might be, Does anybody have any questions about this so far? I jumped around a lot. So I'm going to start it. So if you can see my mouse, you put yourself in the middle. Yes, yes. So yeah, so this inner circle is you put yourself, then you put a circle around that. That's immediate people, no matter what, unconditionally love me, and I can ask them for help. This one is conditional. This one is acquaintances, and this is toxic. So not good for me. If I call them, it's a bad idea. This person bullied me. I need to stay away from this person because they trigger me, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is see if I can wipe this out and just start new, just to give you a clean picture. So again, you've got yourself in the middle, unconditional, conditional, acquaintances, and then toxic on the outside. So that's one version. Yeah, and to the person doing that, like part of this is recognizing who's good for you and who's not. So sometimes one, or we think we have no one, we go back to these people because, you know, sometimes that's just what we do, and we know they're there, and we just gravitate towards it. But if we can figure out, you know, who are these people in all these categories, you know, we don't go back to that. Okay, so that's one version you can consider. So not to harp on circles again, but you can look at it like, you know, me, family, friends, school. So it's not about toxic so much as it's about identifying just people in different areas of our life in a circles kind of a way. That's another way to look at it. Another way to look at it is something called a mind map. Do people know what mind maps are? So it's like brainstorming that we use for creative writing. You can go ahead and put yourself in a circle, and you can like make categories of people. So we can do family and start listing people, friends, and you can connect the categories and then list people. You can have maybe someone has a good good relationship at work, school, and you can start categorizing. It's basically just coming up with a way that, oh, that says soccer, by the way. But it's a way to just separate it and start brainstorming, but feel free to pick a visual that works for you. Now, now that I've shown you a few versions, which one would you like to see me like apply a situation to, like a scenario to walk you through? Just either say it out loud or put on the chat, or yeah. Is there a preferred one that you've seen so far that you like? Okay. Okay. Mind map. Okay. So let's make this one blank. So let's just create a fictional character who we can create a support map for them. So let's just pick a Johnny, right? So Johnny is 16 in high school. We're going to find out what Johnny likes. I'm going to kind of make it up as I go, but maybe people can start typing out some questions so that like help me parse out who my people are. Okay, so I've got a hockey team. Yep, I play hockey. So I have practice I play on Saturdays, and like I would be asking you questions. So, okay, so you've got a hockey team. Is there anyone on your hockey team that you have a really good, like you're close with, or that knows a little bit about what's going on? And I might say, yeah, my coach would say, well, who's your coach? And they say, well, it's Mark. Well, why is Mark a support? Well, he's told me before that, he's seen me kind of argue with my mom, and he's actually pulled me aside once to ask if everything is okay. Maybe that's one person. I'm seeing, so maybe the assistant coach. So we got our coach. You know what? I'm really good friends with the goalie. And I'm like, well, what kind of a friend are they? And do they belong under hockey or do they belong under friend? And you're like, well, actually, I spend a lot of time with them. Like we go to school together, and what's your friend's name? Chris. So he's a really good friend. Yeah, his parents know what's going on. Oh, what are their parents' names? Do they know what's going on? Well, no, they don't really know what's going on, but they've told me before that, yes, if he's that type of friend that I spend time with for support, then just Chris that I play hockey with, right? But I might, if I'm in crisis, I might not be thinking that. I might just think Chris is nice to me. I need to talk. I'm going to ask Chris for help. But you, as the person asking me the question, can say, yeah, like, is that a true friend? Or is that someone you just play hockey with? Is that a good choice? Is that someone you actually list? So you're getting it. Um, and then you might say, see how just in asking me questions, I talked for 2 minutes and we pulled out hockey, friends, and school. And now you can think to yourself, okay, Johnny, do you have other friends? Who are some other friends that are really close or supportive? So someone asked me that question, I'm gonna say, well, I don't really have anyone. I don't think I have very many friends. And you're like, well, let's look at that deeper. Um, Maybe start looking, like, sometimes we can look through your social media friends list to see if you get ideas. We can look through if you have a cell phone and you text with friends. Are there any friends that you text with every day? um, or that answer back. Well, I don't know. There's this really nice person. I don't know if we spend a lot of time together, but you know, um, my friend Shane, we do homework together, and sometimes his mom and dad help us do our project. Okay, that's another option. And then you go through that process of, like, is it a friend or just a friend, right? An acquaintance versus a friend versus a real friend that you can ask support for. So if you can see, like, how we're just going to go through each category, we won't have the time to go through all of them, but once you feel like you've gotten through the friend questions and you've written down a few people, like, let's switch to school now. So who at school is a support? Well, once in a while, are they? Yeah, and these are good questions to the person typing out the questions. So we'll switch, Johnny, to school now. So who at school is super helpful? Well, I'm going to pull from your list from before. We have the principal at school. We have a social worker, guidance counselor. A question that I often ask is, like, are you connected with social worker guidance? Does the principal know what's going on in your life? Chances are they have an idea, and they would offer you support. Um, Another one might be, you usually have, like, a favorite teacher or an EA. Those folks often are huge supports for you that can help out day to day. I partner up with school a lot. You go to school you go to school every day. At least when we were going in person, it's a good place to be connected to a support that checks in on you. They can offer different things that help, like food programs and stuff. But I mean, you start thinking about school, well, the principal knows, my social worker knows. It's going to be, so being online every day with no in class, you still have the ability to reach out to those people. Just it might be different because you're not in person, but I work with most all the high schools, and most of them are pretty, there for you. They may just not know, but if you let them know, um, they'll be there and they'll be able to help out and connect as well. But I mean, back to the school idea, like who are those people in school every day that could be supportive or help you get connected to someone? So principal, social worker, guidance counselor. Oftentimes you'll have like a favorite teacher, someone that you just really like, and that you connect with well. They're really awesome supports too. There's limits to the types of support people can do based on their job or where they are, like in school. But my experience is that schools are a very great place to be connected. Now, from Johnny's story, we might have pulled out 3 categories. We can FaceTime my first, I feel is easier to be honest. Oh, so if you have the option to connect over with your school supports, like over a video call or FaceTime or something, like it just depends on the rules for them, but generally they've been pretty flexible in my experience. So like we've got 3 categories out there. I agree with you, man. Cass is really, really good. So like if you were sitting here with just the, like say if you're parsing out your own support map, or you're working with a friend or trying to help them develop their own support map, at this stage we have 3 categories. I might say, is there another area in your life where there's people you connect with? Well, actually I'm part of this. Yeah, I go to Little Theater once in a while, and I like to work sound for the productions. I volunteer there. It might be I go to the Cavalry Church youth group. Other kids have said what I completely forgot, like if you're a person of faith and you go to church or you're part of like a church group, sometimes it's your pastor or a priest, or it's like Sunday school, or you volunteer with a group there. Other ideas could be, so we got sports or extracurriculars, theater, church, school, friends. We didn't talk about family. I know I talked about that a lot before, but you should always sort of cover friends and family as a go-to. And school's a good one. And then like you can start to get these other categories out, like hockey, church, theater. Now, if you're like I said, if categories is too much and you just need to parse it out on names, like categories, this can get a bit messy for people, but some people need to break it up this way into categories. You might be that person if we go back to the other one where it's like, sometimes it's helpful to just do the names. So again, like conditional, unconditional, conditional, unconditional, conditional, acquaintances, toxic, and then it's just about names as opposed to categories. So, maybe that friend, Chris, my teacher, my principal, my EA, my friends, my friend Chris, his mom, Sarah. Sometimes, and this is a really interesting when sometimes kids don't know where their parents belong when they're having, when they're struggling with their parents, and it's okay if they're in multiple categories and you just don't know where to place them. So for some people, mom, I keep saying mom, I apologize, it just apparently pops out, but there's like mom isn't I just keep saying mom, but it's not always moms. Just want to say that out loud. But sometimes people are like, mom will help me when we're not fighting. So a condition is when we're having like a relatively perfect time. Like that's when she'll help me. So it's conditional. But sometimes our relationship is toxic. When we're fighting, we don't talk at all. Like we're just arguing and it's not helpful. So I don't talk to her. And again, like that could be dad. It could be a grandparent, but it's okay if you don't know what category they belong into. I think it's just important that you recognize how the relationship functions and how you can work with that. So if I know that my relationship with my mom is toxic and sort of conditional, there's a couple of things there that I can kind of work on or get help with. I can get help from professional. Maybe I'm going to sign up for a DBT group with Wellkin so we can talk to a counselor and learn how to regulate and support each other when things are feeling toxic, and we can shift this conditional stuff to be unconditional over time, right? But in a nutshell, I mean, this is what supports is, and um, yeah, I hear a lot of good stuff about Welkin's DBT group and their counselors attached to it, and it's a really good way to learn uh, how to process through things like emotions, be mindful, but also, you know, get that support from that parent at the same time and kind of learn from each other. Um, but there's a mountain of stuff that we can do if we're all willing to work together. Um, Oftentimes, when things feel that they're rough, it just means that we need a little miracle grow. We need a little bit of help from around us to help those roots grow stronger, um, to help kind of test the waters and clean it up a bit so that we can start growing leaves again. To go back to my nature photos, where's my cursor here? So that we can, you know, when the roots are charred or it's kind of fall winter season and our leaves have died off like this one, we want to start growing like this again. You can see that we got a little branch growing out of a stump. If we can find out what's going to help the roots grow, we'll start to grow new shoots. We'll start getting things like little buds of leaves and trees again. Sorry, I'm getting all fluffy now, but that's what I really wanted to talk to you about today, is this idea. And I've got a couple, I would love to, if you have any questions,